Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Alrighty.
Live streamed. Awesome.
Hello, everyone in Rebels Land. Welcome to a very special episode of Star Wars Rebels Revisited. This week, we have the fantastic Philip Anthony Rodriguez with us, the fifth brother Inquisitor himself. So welcome to the show, Philip.
I'm blushing.
Yay.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so stoked. So I'm excited. Let's do this.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm going to remind everyone I'm Mark. I'm here with Ashley, my co-host. We've got Jeff producing behind the scenes. I know we are 2 weeks out from Celebration, but tonight we're talking Rebels, all things Rebels, and all things Star Wars with a very big Star Wars fan, Philip Anthony Rodriguez.
Very big.
Who's a 6-episode run in Rebels Season 2, playing the fifth brother Inquisitor, who we also met again in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the character is super hot right now.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey with Star Wars. When did you watch the original in 77? How did you get into this like crazy franchise?
Gosh, yeah. Well, without getting too much into like age, because I'm certainly not going to age myself. I was a young lad, very young, when the original Star Wars came out. And as is par for the course, as most people will say who are Star Wars fans, when they saw that, it was life-changing. It was everything.
Agreed.
Now I know what the world's all about. And it's such a wonderful new world. I was dazzled, even at a very young age. I knew this was something special that no one has ever seen before, and I could recognize that. And it was just the best thing. And maybe it was here. So it was magical. And ever since then, I was hooked. I was a fan, and there was no turning back from that point. So it was really magical.
That's awesome.
Do you have a particular favorite movie of the stack of the original trilogy, or from the prequels potentially?
Yeah, well, with regard to the original, as much as I love Star Wars, I was a tad bit older when Empire Strikes Back. And that for me was cinematic gold. I was just like, oh, wow, we're going in a real different direction with this. This is just like, this is dark. This is like our heroes are in trouble. They're really seeing some serious issues here with like being endangered and the rebellion and all that stuff. And it was the action was there. They had upped the ante with the special effects. So that was even more dazzling. And now we're really telling a story, and it suffices to say it was engrossing, and I was completely engrossed. So for me, as is probably the choice of a lot of true Star Wars fans, Empire Strikes Back is definitely like the gold standard in terms of like the entire series for me.
And it ended on that cliffhanger, which was huge and got everybody like stressed about it. So
yeah, of course. And that, you're not talking about just an iconic moment within the Star Wars universe. This is a cinematic, life-changing incident throughout all of cinema, from like the beginnings of cinema. It's like no one had really done anything like this before.
Yeah.
And I love hearing Mark Hamill tell the story about like how he described how that came to be, because initially the whole thing, I'm sure you guys are aware, and I'm pretty sure that the story is true. It's been verified that the story was going to be like, when he has a confrontation with Vader, he's going to say, Obi-Wan killed your father. And it's like, no. And then what really happens is that, George Lucas and Irwin Winkler, the director, came up to Mark Hamill and said, I know about this. The director knows about this, and now you know about this. So if anybody else knows about this, we'll know you told them. And the one line was just like, I am your father, Luke, and all that stuff. So it's like mind-blowing clue.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing clue. So
thankfully he didn't tell Carrie.
yeah.
We would have all known well ahead of time.
For sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's just as a kid, it's I think every generation has that one moment. I mean, maybe way back in the day, it's like when a younger child saw, I don't know, Wizard of Oz for the first time, or, everyone has that one iconic moment that gives children or younger people a sense of wonder and excitement and just a real appreciation for something other than their world, whether it's fantasy or science fiction or something having to do with monsters or horror. And for me, for my generation, it was the original Star Wars trilogy.
Awesome.
And I think you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
The fact that we are talking about the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi being celebrated at this upcoming celebration is bonkers. And the brand is still going. Like, it's not just a nostalgia play. Like, there's how many TV shows on air right now? Mando is airing, Bad Batch is airing, and, you know, all part of the Disney machine, which you were a part of. Rebels was the first project from Disney.
Go figure.
You know, after the takeover of Lucasfilm by Disney. So that show started in 2014. Season 2 aired in 2015, which is when you came in. How did you get first involved with that project? Because you're not typically a voice actor. I look at your IMDb. You have 125 credits or something. It's live action and video games.
Well, I mean, you know, I was involved in voice. For me, you know, you're probably right. I mean, most of the stuff that I do is on-screen stuff, whether it's film or television.
I remember seeing your picture and I was like, I recognize that guy. He's on screen all the time.
But the bread and butter for me and the fun stuff was the voiceover. And I'm old enough to be in that realm of like, video games, for example, when they were in their infancy. Like, people were starting to, you know, there were always video games around, like from the Atari days, from the early Nintendo days and Sega and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, gaming companies or video game companies like Sega, like Atari and all that stuff, and Activision started making these very sort of cinematic things that not only were they coming out with new video games, but they were interspersing it with what they call cinematic portions. Take little things before the action, during the action, or after the action. Well, they tell the story of what the video game is all about. My first journey into that was doing what I thought at the time was a seemingly insignificant voice of Maurice Chavez in the original GTA, the original Grand Theft Auto. And even back then, all these people were saying like, what? So we're doing what? We're doing like a little mini movie within the video game. What's that all about? So that's how old I am. So I kind of fell into this world of video game voicing and animation and all that stuff in that manner.
That makes sense.
That's really cool.
And I never looked back after that. So it was I was lucky. I was really fortunate in that regard that's how I got my, in, so to speak, into the video game world. And again, it's just been such a real treat to be able to do that. To be a part of that, because it is so much fun. I've gotten to play villains and good guys, and it's just been a real treat.
That is so cool. It's like getting in on the ground floor of having video games be more than just playing. Like, the cutscenes really started to matter.
Yeah, but with regard to Star Wars Rebels, again, already being a fan, and if I remember correctly, there's always some degree of secrecy, like very hush hush. Anytime Lucasfilm does any kind of a project, in particular, when they're doing any kind of a new Star Wars project, there's always like a code name for it. It's always like unnamed project, nothing like this. They use sides from an old production or from an old Star Wars project and stuff like that. They just want to see what an actor brings to the table. But with regard to Star Wars Rebels, the one thing that was clear was that it was definitely going to be a Lucasfilm project. It was definitely going to be an animated project. I think it was even confirmed that it was going to be for Disney Plus. The only thing that I knew was that I was going to be auditioning for this role, and the only thing that they were asking for was for the actors to bring in some sort of, shall we say, an ethnic flavor to it. In other words, someone that didn't sound like, standard American or standard British or something like that, but someone with a distinct accent. So me being,
it already had a lot of British guys like filling out the cast, every Imperial officer. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Without fail. Yeah.
Right. And as is par for the course with Lucasfilm, one of the things that I love about them and Disney and all this stuff is that they have such a good record with promoting, different ethnicities. And interspersing that. And sometimes it works really well, and other times it doesn't work quite well, or some people see it as, offensive or whatever. But regardless, their record on inclusion has been stellar, in my opinion, and it can only get better. So, based on the description that I was given about Fifth Brother, again, he didn't have a name yet. He didn't have a real breakdown. It's just like, here's what we're looking for. Oh, sorry, he is a villain. We just didn't have a name for him yet, and we certainly didn't know he was a Sith Lord or with the dark side of the Force.
Mhm.
So the first thing that honestly came to mind, and I kid you not, again, being a fan of sci-fi and franchise, when I was reading the original sides for the material for Fifth Brother, it screamed Ricardo Montalban as Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
And that's who I was channeling. I was channeling him.
Huh.
The only difference I did, because I had to make it, I couldn't make it be like an impersonation.
Right.
Right.
Or something like to make it sound like Ricardo Montalban, because then they're going to be like, he sounds like he's doing Khan from Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
So the only difference that I made with it was that when I did it, the accent that I did was very much Ricardo Montalban, but I put a calmness to it and a more sinister background to it. And that was the only difference that I made with this character.
I can hear it.
Is
Yeah.
the beginning
Yeah.
of Fifth Brother.
That's amazing.
Thankfully for me,
Wow.
they liked what I did, and then of course, once that happened, once I found out that I had booked the project, and they let me know that not only was it going to be a Star Wars franchise, but I was going to be playing a villain, but not just the villain, but a Sith Lord or a Sith Inquisitor, because they were also introducing this new thing about Sith Inquisitors.
Yeah, this was new. I never
very
heard the
new.
word Inquisitor before until season 1 of Rebels, and then we thought there was one, and they were like, "Oh no, we need multiples."
Yeah,
So,
and this is part of the grand plan, you know, of like how they were going. This was going to be a precursor to, you know, the telling stories with introducing these characters who were underlings of Darth Vader, and how that pans out and stuff. So so suffice it to say, when I got the news and I'm like, what? This is going to be the coolest thing ever. Oh, I was just like, I was beside myself, because it was like, I've always had that dream of wanting to be, as an actor, wanting to be part of the, you know, Star Wars universe in some way, shape, or form. I used to always joke, it's like, if there was like a new Star Wars project, I don't care. I would be like, you know, the alien who's standing in the background with a laser blaster and stuff like that. If it meant that I would be in a Star Wars movie or in a Star Wars TV show, I don't care.
That's amazing.
Like, bring it on. I would have been part of it. This was just like icing on the cake. This was like the cherry on top.
And plus it's Star Wars. Like, there's no small characters in Star Wars, as you've seen. Like Wilro Hood, the guy running by with the ice cream machine, is like a major character in today's lore.
Yeah.
So
he has a Black Series figure.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's-
like making even like a small character in Star Wars is still huge to somebody. Like, somebody is gonna really love this character in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And that's by design too. I mean, you know, the Star Wars creative teams on the whole, whether we're talking any aspect of the Star Wars universe, and lately, of course, you know, the two men, you know, the man, so to speak, the guys who are really like running the ship and doing such a great job with it, you know, are Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And, you know, I could be wrong, but it seems to me, my personal opinion is that everything is like, let's pay attention to detail. So when you watch the shows, whether you're watching Mandalorian or Bad Batch, you know, from an animation perspective, or Book of Boba, there's so many little details. They don't miss a beat with regard to the art direction and all that stuff. And, you know, that's why these people have meetings, because they know that Star Wars fans and people who watch TV in general, but specifically Star Wars fans, they look at every little nuance, every little detail. And if it ain't right, they will call you on that shiz.
Oh, yes. You know how this fandom can be.
So
not at all.
It's a great way to be. And I love that. I love that they take such pride in that, you know, where they could be like at a bar somewhere and they'll make it a point to have like, you know, the drinks be a very specific color and stuff like that. And there's never anything that looks like, you know, someone put like a couple of coat buttons on a thing with crazy glue to make it look like, but no, they make that shit look real. So I think that's great.
They
Yeah.
also go out of their way to make everything connected so
Yeah.
that if they
Right.
reward the people who have been watching all the various streams of content. So for everyone who's watched Rebels, the reason we're doing this whole YouTube show is that Rebels has sort of infiltrated all the other new streams of content from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Andor. We're seeing it in The Mandalorian. Like they're rewarding those viewers and they're taking ideas, characters, locations, themes, and then pulling it into the new stuff. And I think with the Ahsoka show coming, we're going to see
Yeah.
even more from from what we saw in Rebels, which I think
Really
season
so.
2 of Rebels is like some of my favorite television.
Yeah.
And the episodes that you're in are incredible. And I think we're going to see some of the consequences from some of those coming up as we get into the Ahsoka show for sure.
Yeah. And that's what I think is pretty spectacular about the approach that the Star Wars creatives, plural, have done with the whole universe. They've expanded in such a way that the storytelling is so good. It's really, really good. And who cares if it's an animated series? I mean, it's an animated series, and people say, "Oh, well, that's kid stuff. That's for kids." Like, not necessarily. There's some pretty deep stuff, very profound storytelling here, very dark storytelling.
Yeah. Especially this season.
Right. Yeah. So much going on in season 2, and then so much going on. I hope there's no spoilers here. I guess we could speak.
Oh no, we openly talk about
Maul back and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, come on, that's crazy. Yeah, in a good way, crazy. That's awesome.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here defending animation with the rest of us, and I will say video games as well. Video games have come a long way. I was looking back at your credits. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was 2002. We're talking 20 years ago, right? You're also in Metal Gear Solid.
I was 10 years old when I did that.
Exactly. Look, same. Halo, Warhammer, Tomb Raider. You've been in major franchises, and I'm sure you've seen the way these games move. The Last of Us now has a TV show on HBO that is going to win every Emmy they make, right?
Totally.
Like video games are now an elevated art form.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
Spectacular. It's like, wow. Who'd have thought? And I'm so glad. And forgive me, I'm blanking on their names right now. But the guys who the showrunners and the executive producers, chief writers that brought it to I should know this because I've watched every single show till the end of the season.
I'm terrible with names. I'm with you. So the guys who do it.
But I mean, what an accomplishment! I mean, to honor the original video game so much and then create this drama, basically kind of, but I'm not trivializing it, but basically like out of thin air. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a deeply rich, storyline and storytelling that's based on the video game, which is, of course, otherworld type of video game when you really think of how successful The Last of Us was.
Mm-hmm.
I played The Last of Us, the video game, but I never knew that they could make such a transition from the story the video game told versus what the series has told. And the great thing about it, the way that they did it right was that they were able to please the video game, loyalists and the people who are being introduced to the TV show aspect. And that is just like, I mean, in my book, those guys can do no wrong now. They knocked it out of the park.
Right. They changed
and then
just
to have Pedro
enough.
Pascal and is it Bella Ramsey? Who are like, you talk about like crazy ass, wonderful chemistry and top-notch acting. Perfect choices with regard to the casting. Perfect, as far as I'm concerned.
And to take just enough to leave the video game fans guessing and to keep the new people as interested. It's stellar stuff. And I really hope we see that kind of storytelling continue in season 2.
Yeah. And it's, there's going to be a season 2. It's a foregone conclusion, but even better for us as fans, it's going to inspire other people, studios, whatever, streaming networks, whatever, to, either replicate what the success of Last of Us had. And that bodes well for us, because if we're fans of other video games that are making that transition from game to, the screen, whether it's the small screen or the big screen, great for us. It's if you're a fan of those things, and it's like they're doing a movie version of like, of I don't know. I'm trying to think of another very popular video game, but like okay, Grand Theft Auto, like another full-length feature, something like that's great. If you're fans,
I think
of
there's
that,
potential there.
sure, because now, they've had success with it. Other studios, streaming services, networks, what have you, they're going to try to mimic that. And they're going to try to do their own successful version of like a very well written, well acted, on-screen rendition of a video game, of a successful.
It's gonna be the new elevated horror, right? It's gonna be taking something that is very, like, I would say baseline, shoot 'em up kind of thing, and then turning it into prestige television. Yeah. Well, here's my question now. You've been in all these amazing franchises, like I mentioned, Fallout, Metal Gear, Call of Duty, Halo, Warhammer. Some of them have had movie adaptations, some of them have had other projects of sorts. What do you think would be a great live action show from one of those properties, and who would you play in it? It doesn't necessarily to be the character that you played. Like, if they were doing a Grand Theft Auto, would you want to be in that in live action? And if so, like, there's a lot of locations there too. I don't know which one to pick.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, take your pick of whatever city, or maybe they could do a whole slew of the different cities, that the
universe
franchises have had. Yeah. I mean, I think from the ones that I've done, because Tomb Raider's already been made into a series of films. And I have a little point about that I want to mention about Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the one that I was in. But I guess for me, speaking about GTA, I think that would make a great, transition to this. I don't know if it would work particularly well as a series. I could be wrong. Maybe if I thought about that. But again, when you really, I mean, in so many ways, GTA, the whole game franchise is so extreme in so many ways because of the subject matter. It's not really for everybody, but it's definitely going to have an R rating, or a TV mature rating if it's on television or something like that. But again, you've got an open book with regard to doing something like that. And I think it would be particularly funny if they were to somehow intersperse, or incorporate, I should say, the character of Maurice Chavez that I did, which is really, dudes and dudette. I just did WonderCon this past weekend.
Yeah, I saw. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did GTA, like you said, a gazillion years ago. And to this day, I will be like, if people know me or whatever, they'll say something. They don't say like, hey, fifth brother or whatever, or I seen you last night. So like, hey, Maurice Chavez, what's up, man? I'm like, Maurice Chavez? First of all, it's like a secondary, tertiary character in the Grand Theft Auto franchises. But what's crazy about it is that it's like not even really a character per se. It's a radio show character that I do, like Howard Stern or something like that is just playing constantly. And that's if you select radio mode in the video games.
My brother did every time, and that's how I know you from that.
It's the funny, or it'll be that or Sam Rodriguez with Metal Gear Revengeance, which is like another video game that I did, which is just another just like ridiculously violent video game. And it's just, again, I get fans or whatever who will chime in on like Instagram. Hey, what's up, Jetstream Sam? Can you do your voice? Can you say this line for me or something like that? I'm like, sure. Yeah. I always like humor people, and because it's really nice to know that people want that. I never complain about that, and you'll never hear me say stuff like, oh, that's so old. I'm not going to do that anymore. No, I'm not going to pull that thing, because I know there's people out there who appreciate it, who are fans of the work that I did, and how could you not, honor them and give them what I consider to be a very simple and sweet gift like that. I'll never
that's very nice. Yeah,
I'll never be that.
So cool. So cool.
Those gamer boys are not to be trifled with either.
Yeah,
if they love a video
stuff.
game from their childhood, they remember forever. Right now, all the discourses around the new Bond, I guess was it GoldenEye was the first real first-person shooter game that everyone started playing, and I guess they remastered it finally, and it's out. And these men in their 30s and 40s are playing with their kids now and schooling their children, which is hilarious. So that was like a whole thing on Twitch a few weeks ago.
Go figure.
But like I love video games, but I'm to date myself. I played Mario 1, Mario 3. Like I maxed out at Mario World. Like
I
once
bought
we
an
got past
emulator
2D,
just so I could
oh,
have all those old games that I
yeah.
had when I was a kid.
I have a
And
Switch and I'm
yeah.
sticking 2D. 2D.
Yeah, I got you
So
all
I'm
beat, man.
familiar with your games, but
I
can't
was
do
playing
it.
with Atari 2600. I got you all
Yeah,
beat.
Yeah.
same.
The
That was
Atari
the very
50th
first
just came out
system
on
I
the
played.
Switch too.
Yeah.
The 50th anniversary of Atari. It's a whole collection of games that they just put out on the Switch. You can play all that old stuff. My husband and I were
That's
playing,
rad.
and I was like, I'm bad at all of these.
Yeah.
So it turns out like all my skills evaporated.
Well, I'll tell you why you'll probably be bad about it, because it's a joystick and it's a red button. It's too simple.
Yeah, it was wild.
It's
So
that whole having to jump, going like this.
Right.
the play
So,
control's
yeah.
not great either. We'll blame it on that.
Yeah.
So you're in all these franchises. What do people know you best for? Is there one thing that you get hit with all the time? I would assume it's probably Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That, in terms of like the voiceover stuff, for sure. For sure, it's that. Well, actually, no, it's. I think it's pretty split between Maurice Chavez in GTA and then Sam Rodriguez in Metal Gear Revengeance. Because again, it's just like it's such an iconic character. I mean, he's like this Portuguese American guy who basically has a human head. He's got a very European look with like long black hair and a ponytail, and the rest of his body is this like wicked, big, muscular, cybernetic body, and he just wreaks havoc. And
Goals.
it's not just the action part about it, but it's the stuff that they wrote for him is just like equal parts, twisted and dark and funny and deep. I had a real treat recording like what seemed like forever, like sessions after session after session of lines and dialogue. And again, you say so many different things, so many funny things, so many harsh things that eventually, when they get put out on the actual video game and then, the gamers start playing it, they memorize those things. They become memorable key lines, not too dissimilar from like, the force will be with you always. Or, I love you. I know, things like that. It's just
Right.
They become as iconic as that. So when the fans are quoting stuff from the game that you did, that I did personally as an actor, my inner voice is saying, I said that.
Yeah, especially if it's like wildly vulgar. It's like, whoopsie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I typically tend to remember the vulgar because I have such a potty mouth. But
Are they writing it on the autograph? Like, have they asked you to write any of those lines on the autograph that you signed?
Oh God, yeah. And the autograph is no fine. That's fine. I will write whatever that. And typically, autograph purists just want the signature because they're collector's items when they get signed and stuff like that. But every once in a blue moon, you'll say stuff. You'll say stuff like when I do the Fifth Brother stuff, for example. I remember some people will say, in addition to writing the signature, and typically people like me to sign their Funko Pops because that's the most popular thing that I have is my Fifth Brother Funko Pop. In addition to the signature, they'll say something like, to write in quotes, Lord Vader has sent me in his place or something like that. And I've done it so much that I just do it on my own. And Mark, you can attest to this because back in the day when we did the top stuff, that's one of the things that I would do. I would sign it like that, or if they ask for it, I always say, what do you want me to put on this? I want to make sure I don't want to, because this is permanent. I don't want to mess it up.
Right.
So,
I've noticed that Star Wars fans usually want your name and then the character name. And then you can do a quote. Actually, as you're mentioning Topps, so for anyone who might be looking for autographs from Philip Anthony Rodriguez, he is easily findable on eBay because he has signed trading cards for Topps numerous times over.
Right.
And I know you're on the con circuit as well. I'd rather them buy direct from you on the con circuit, but if they're looking for old trading cards, you signed for us numerous times, including at New York Comic Con in 2017 when I got to bring it to the booth. That was really fun because that's when I met Carolyn also.
Such a blast. We had a good time, man. And that's a real treat. It's always nice to see, when I do the signings, because you literally have to, when they send you a big box of things to sign, you're sitting there and it's not like you can do it typically in one day. You're doing that over like a period of sometimes like a week if you stagger it and stuff. But just to see the different types that they have, like the ones that are just your good old garden variety, like, paper-based card, to the ones that are like actual like metal some with gold inlay and things like that. I don't even want to ask like how much they are for the people that really pay top dollar for those. But it'll be stuff like only 5 of these were made, and there's only 3 of these, and there's only 10 of these that were made. It's just like, oh my God, that's so crazy in a cool way.
And I worked with Ashley as well at Top. She did sketch cards. So I know you've drawn the Fifth Brother for sets.
Yes, I
Nice,
have.
Ashley.
It was so fun. And
Cool.
any excuse I have to draw Rebels or any of the Rebels characters, I totally take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's on the con circuit as well. You said Wicked Comic Con is your next one coming up.
Yes.
So she's got an artist alley, of course, because she's an artist.
Oh, cool.
And then
Thanks.
what is your next convention, Phil? You just
I
said
don't
you're just
know.
at WonderCon.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's I don't know if I'm going to be able to do San Diego Comic-Con, but we'll see. This last one was kind of like, I wasn't really doing it to promote anything personally that I was doing, but if it's not something that like the previous time I was at WonderCon was when we did the premiere of Justice League and the Fatal Five, in which I voiced Mono, who's like one of the supervillains of the Fatal Five.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was like a big deal, and that was like with the original real cool animated DC like Justice League characters and actors that do it, like Susan Eisenberg doing Wonder Woman, and Kevin Conroy, rest his soul, who did Batman. So that was a real treat, and that was a whole big to do because that was a whole day. I think it was a whole day. But DC and Warner like set us up, and we got to Anaheim in the morning, and the whole day was devoted to that whole premiere, because what they were going to do was they were going to do a screening for some of the larger fans, from some of the bigger fans in one of the larger viewing halls. So the day began with just like doing interviews, and then we did a dedicated signing where you literally sit on a table, and they have the little line, people come in and sign everything, take a little break for lunch, go back to the green room, regroup, do some more interviews, and then the rest of the day was devoted to actually seeing the movie for the first time, which we were seeing it for the first time too when we were sitting in the audience with the fans.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, oh my God, it was so awesome because again, it's like you have fans of that franchise, and then fans of like the DC animated universe in general who were there attending, specifically wanting to come see this. And it's like the opening credits come in, when they show like DC, and they show like the kind of animated icons of the different DC characters, like, Wonder Woman swinging her lasso and all that stuff. And the roar from the audience, just from that alone, it was deafening. I'm like, this is so cool. But then to see that for the first time with the fans was just awesome. And then we had a talk back afterward. So yeah, one of my most memorable experiences at WonderCon. This last time that I was there, again, I wasn't really promoting anything for myself personally, but I was graciously invited to do a panel by Janina Scarlett. She is a legitimate psychologist, but a lot of what she incorporates with her therapy revolves around like superheroes and things like that, and things having to do with, like, for example, Harry Potter or superhero therapy. It's like, well, what would the X-Men do, and why, what? And it's such a brilliant way of introducing like, psychology to the masses, or psychology to people who might not otherwise, immerse themselves in it. And they're there every year. They're there usually at WonderCon, Comic Cons, and some of the other popular ones in New York. I think they've done it, but they're so sweet. Her and her husband, Dustin McGinnis, who moderates them, always bring me in to be a part of the panel.
That's really nice.
To sort of, and I'm usually like the one actor, who's brought in. Most of the people that they bring in are either writers or illustrators, sometimes producers from like studios and stuff like that. But they always ask me in, and it's so sweet of them to do so. I love them so, to just sort of chime in from the actor's perspective. So that's why I was invited. And then while I was there, because other people knew I was going, we made an announcement saying that I would be attending. Then I've got like other people saying, hey, we're going to be here in this booth. Can you do an interview with us? Hey, can you come over here and sign this for a little bit? So that's been my experience. And then the great thing about it is because it's not so involved, I get to enjoy the WonderCons, and just in general, and just be just like a regular, normal person, like just going to see what kind of stuff they're selling. And so it was a real treat. It was great that I was able to do that.
That's
walking
awesome.
the floor is the best part.
It's so much fun. And then like every year, like, like the cosplay people just, it's
It
just,
gets, it gets
it's
crazier and crazier.
it's crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the money
Yeah.
that's invested in like creating some of these costumes. And,
Yeah.
as you guys know, if you've been to them, sometimes it's just like, they'll do like hybrids or something like that. Like they'll do like, Samurai Mandalorian or like, like Iron Man Optimus Prime or something like that. It is crazy cool what they do every year. And it's like, just every year when you think, they've outdone themselves as a collective group, nah. They up
Definitely
the ante
not.
even more. I saw
No
like
way.
some Optimus Prime. He was just like, it was like a 8 or 10 foot tall Optimus Prime, like in a real suit, like in a real Transformer suit. I'm like,
It's crazy. It's an arms race out there.
yeah,
There's no stopping it. Yeah.
That's such a good way to describe it, as an arms.
It is. Wait till San Diego this year, especially after COVID. Like, there's so many people who didn't go to conventions for years, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I've been working on this cosplay for 4.5 years." And I was like, "Oh
that's
my
exactly
God."
right. People are seriously like having to play major catch up. It's like, man, we've been denied the last few years. We're gonna come back with a vengeance.
That's exactly what it is. It's crazy. And on the Star Wars side, it's equally insane, especially as more and more characters are getting introduced. Who's going to be the first person to get like the 501st approved version of said character? And that's always a thing. So I'm curious to see how all that lands at Celebration. We're keeping an eye on it here, of course, on the channel. Ashley and I are actually not going to Celebration, but we're going to keep an eye on it on the US side and cover all the news via Twitter and everything else. So I'm on the lookout for cosplay though. Like that's what I want to see that. I want to see some panels.
That's why people go. They want to see, they want to take pictures. I don't know if you guys, because you've probably been so busy like prepping and with your own lives and doing all that stuff, but I posted just a couple of things with this last visit to WonderCon, and there was literally like there was like a real couple, but they were dressed as Mary Poppins and Bert from the movie Mary Poppins and stuff like that.
Oh wow!
In their I forget, but they're real nice outfit where she's wearing the gown and the very sort of Victorian outfit, and he's wearing the red and white striped jacket with the hat and stuff. And I'm like, I gotta take a picture with you guys.
Yes.
And
Disney
then,
bounding is huge when they do
seriously.
San Diego and WonderCon, because it's all right there. So
and they look so perfect, so authentic. And then the crazy thing about it was like we just happened to be in an area where there were a couple of guys doing like droid demonstrations. So you had R2D2, just a whole rash of like, so there I am like doing like what I consider to be my like annual thing. I always find R2D2 and I take a picture with him. So that's kind of I'm not saying exclusively, but it's my thing where it's like I got to take a picture with R2 and I go down at his level and I do whatever. I've been doing every year, every time I'm lucky enough to get invited to a con. And they're like right there. I'm like, hey, can you guys come over here and take a picture real quick? So the post that I did was like, when Disney worlds collide.
Yeah.
And that was my post because I took a picture with them. And there's R2D2 at my base
fantastic.
with like Mary Poppins and Bert on my side and stuff like that. And that just goes to show you how like, Disney's got its hand on everything, especially when it's related to like the cons.
It's gigantic now. And even when you first came on to Rebels, even when they had just picked up Lucasfilm, then they got Marvel, then they got 20th Century Studios, formerly known as Fox. But even back then in 2014, 15, we were like, oh, this feels like something special and kind of gigantic. I remember thinking like, what will be, right? Because Rebels was the only thing on air. It was on Disney XD, and they were this is the first show we're doing. And then they were like, we're going to announce some movies, and then the movies started flowing. And before you know it, we had a franchise back again. It was kind of crazy, but Rebels really paved the way. Like it was the first thing out of the gate.
Totally.
Do you remember if when you got hired for Rebels, when you did your recording, had season 1 aired yet, or was it still in development? And because I know animation takes a long time. You
know what, that's a really good question, Mark. And I certainly couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I'm going to venture to say it had not aired yet, because if I recall, it's like I said, when I was auditioning for Fifth Brother, it was very hush hush, so we didn't know anything about it. So, but that's a good question. I really honestly don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it hadn't.
Yeah, usually animation's like 2 years
Season one
out.
hadn't aired
So
yet. Yeah, because it does take a long time to. I mean, animation in general has been streamlined. Like Pixar used to take like 2, 3, 4 years to do story in the first early Toy Story days. Now they can crank one out in like a year and a half, by and large.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how the technology and the proficiency has improved over the years. But that's a great question. But I will say that again, wrapped in secrecy, and I had very little to go on when I auditioned for the role to when I actually started recording it, in the booth. And Dave Filoni was running all the sessions. And
that's our next question. We were going to poke you on like Filoni and some stories behind the scenes, because you were there for 6 episodes. Tell us a little bit about the recording process. I know sometimes there's individual recordings, sometimes there's big cast-wide recordings. I know Dave is there for pretty much all of them. What was that like when you first jumped in the booth, like finding the character? And do you remember what you started recording first?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just everything. It's at that particular time, it's sequential. You're recording everything, from the first episode that you're doing to the last. So because it's a process, typically you're only recording, 1 or 2 episodes at a time. Because they have to, do the voices first and then they animate it. Then if necessary, you come back in for pickups if they have to change something or they have to tweak a line here or there, add a line, remove a line. So when I went into my first session, again, already full well knowing what I was involved in, what project I was doing, and I met Dave Filoni for the first time. First of all, when you go in, it's just you. And that's typically how it's done. There are very few sessions when you're talking about animation in general where you're doing it as a group. Or you're doing like scenes together at the same time simultaneously. So I go in and it's this sound recording studio / post-production house. And the room I go into is like the size of a freaking stadium.
Wow.
It's just this big, gigantic room. And you go in there and there is a music stand with a big mic. They have a camera on you recording you because for a couple of reasons. They record you because oftentimes the producers or Lucasfilm will want B footage of the actors doing all the dialogue. And sometimes they'll do that if they incorporate some kind of like behind the scenes thing or whatever. But they also do it for the benefit of the animators because they want to see what the actors doing with the performance and stuff like that. So they really like that, which I also think is really fun. I love that part of the process. And then you have like another little table with like, about a 12-pack of water. You could put your tea there and all that stuff, and a chair if you want to sit on it. They mic you up, you put on the cans like what you got on right now, and then you hit the ground running and you go at it. And then you have to understand too that if you recall, not only is Fifth Brother a man or a character of few words. So my sessions really didn't last very long. It's not like I was having oodles and oodles of like dialogue to crank out.
Yeah, you don't have monologues with him.
Ooh,
he's more of a.
I wish, but when you really think about it, it's all the more harder and difficult with such little material to create something that you don't have the benefit of an assist from having tons of dialogue or tons of stuff to say. So that, I credit Dave Filoni for like really being able to get those little nuances with a line that, is like, I will deal with myself, and there's only so many ways you can do that. But here's Dave Filoni giving you that with the brilliant way that he directs, doing it in such a way that he's not giving you a line reading as an actor, but saying, okay, try it this way and make believe that such and such a thing is happening. And then it's just like, wow, okay, I know what I need. And, you're a good actor when you're able to interpret what the director's trying to, give you in terms of direction and making an adjustment with regard to the line that you have to do. And then it's up to the producers, the editors, and all that stuff after the fact to decide which line reading of the same line that I've done works best with the finished product.
Yeah, which take makes it in.
Right, which tape makes it in. And then, guys, it's just like that first day was just equal parts excitement. I wasn't like nervous in a bad way, but the heart was definitely racing because again, I've done a gazillion sessions like this, but when it's Star Wars, when you're doing something for the first time, when you're doing something that you really, 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 really have wanted to do since you were a little kid, it's daunting. It's a different game,
sure.
different ball game altogether. So for me, that was the only like little bit of nervousness. And again, Dave Filoni, he's the man. He went in there, is just like, dude, you're here for a reason. Okay, you got this. You're the man. Let's do this. Let's knock it out of the park. And it was sheer bliss working on that.
That's so cool. What did you think when you saw the character designs of the fifth brother for the first time?
I loved it. And, the cool thing about it was that the original, and the great thing about it was that, again, once I found out what I was doing, what project I was working on, then it's like, have at it, here, we're going to send you this. These are the artist renditions and stuff like that. And I remember what they sent me initially for what the Inquisitors were going to look like, or what the inspiration for Fifth Brother specifically was going to look like, were things that were not thrown away, but not used with regard to the movie franchise Star Wars. What, like some of the Sith Lords that were minions of Emperor Palpatine, or some of the discarded. That's the word I'm looking for. Discarded ideas for the Fifth Brother. And what they had was amazing. First of all, the original designs were like, these guys look way older, like very aged, almost elderly looking. And then they would have sort of like these diamond shaped, things over their head with like some kind of like a cloak covering their head, and then wearing just black robes and stuff like that.
Wow.
Their eyes were whited out, that sort of thing. And then I'm sure if you look at Fifth Brother, like we're looking at him on screen right now, the inspiration was kind of like a shark. If you look at his head, his teeth, his skin color, the inspiration is more of like a shark-like. And I think that was a brilliant analogy. You're talking about an apex predator creature who's very silent, very stealthy, comes in from behind, attacks, and just has a fury when they just like come at you and attack you. It's a great white shark, and all they care about is like, I see food, I'm going to do everything I can to get it, and I'm going to get it. Well,
and
that's
awesome.
a lot of what Fifth Brother's all about. He's on a mission.
Yeah.
And he's going to get these rebels, either, bring them in dead or alive, come hell or high water, in whatever manner he believes is going to do it for Darth Vader.
And
did Dave allow you? Yeah, he does. Did Dave allow you to make up a backstory for your character, or do you think?
Well, no, because it was already there. Like I said, the only backstory that I had personally was in creating the voice, and I've already told you where that came.
Yeah.
From. That was me channeling Ricardo Montalban and Wrath of Khan and stuff. And the only
I like that Trek makes it in.
I know. It's it's the testament to like how huge of a fan I am in like sci-fi and action and all that stuff. And
incredible.
Just as much of a Star Trek fan as I am a Star Wars. I'm not one of those who's like, you're either one or the other. That's nonsense.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, like Star Wars stole from Star Trek. It's like, no, it didn't. It just stop. We're all in this together.
Exactly.
So
there's space for us all.
Yeah, there's the purists, but not very many of them are like that. And even George Takei or people like that will say how much they cherish and love Star Wars as a franchise. You don't hear them like
he's in it. He's in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a good amount of crossover between the two franchises now, and I think that's changed a lot over time.
Totally. But yeah, that was it was just sort of like planetary alignment, really, when you think about it. The whole experience for me as Fifth Brother, and being able to create that character, being able to work with Dave Filoni and the rest of the fantastic voice actors that are part of that project, seeing it come to fruition, seeing how good it is, and how much of a starting point it was for other worlds and other franchises within the Star Wars universe and Disney Plus and all that stuff, and Lucasfilm in general. I couldn't have asked for a better experience than that. So it was a real
That's so
treat.
good to hear.
Yeah.
Because you know
that's
the
awesome.
legacy will. I always joke that Star Wars a lot like all of us, right?
Yeah,
And
for
in some
sure.
ways, you were saying earlier about wanting to be a background alien for 3 seconds in a Star Wars, right? Ashley and I
Star
know
Trek.
100 people who do that, and they're on the convention circuit every
Yeah.
weekend
Yeah.
doing autographs, and they are
Yeah.
forever part of the franchise. You're in the same boat, so no matter where you go, there will always be at least one person in line being like, "I need you to sign my Star Wars thing,"
Right.
and they'll stay with you forever, which is kind of
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the fact, having been a licensee, when we did trading cards, if anyone new popped up in Rebels, Clone Wars, the new movies, it didn't matter the amount of screen time they had. It was like, we have to get a trading card for them. We have
Yeah.
to get autographs for them. They need to be included and mixed in, because we have a fan base that really believes in completionism and inclusion in a way that it's like, we want every character in there. It's kind of insane. Like, you go to Star Trek, just to
Yeah.
give the quick comparison, Star Trek doesn't name their background characters. Like, they won't, they don't care. They're like, if there's someone in a background spot, they have
They're
not
not
given them a
important.
name or rank, anything. You're lucky if the uniform is from the same time period.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
but like Star Wars, on the other hand, you'll go to the Wikipedia or StarWars.com databank. There's a whole like lineup of, we've got your gender, your species, your home planet, and then a whole backstory about like how you encountered Jabba the Hutt 20 years ago. Like, it's
Right.
bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's it. And that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier, the attention to
Mhm.
detail. It's like, that's, I hope that remains a constant for years to come with, however they keep, telling, and I'll be perfectly honest. I was a little bit concerned when Lucasfilm was bought by Disney because, or became Disney Plus, and then, or Disney bought Lucasfilm, and then Disney Plus came into being. They had to do it. They had to get into the whole streaming game to compete. And, when you have a library as vast as Disney, it's a no-brainer for them. My concern with Star Wars, as I'm sure was the concern of many Star Wars fans, was the oversaturation, the potential for oversaturation and for diluting the product and stuff like that. But it's been good. It's been, again, I think there's method to the madness of, Lucasfilm and, Star Wars general and Star Wars in general, and the creative teams behind all the individual Star Wars projects, to make sure that it doesn't turn into that, because, you're going to always satisfy, the appetite of Star Wars fans. But you also don't have to do like 50,000 different projects all at once. You want to be able to savor each project. So as long as they keep that MO in place, it's like you said, the franchise in Star Wars will outlive us all into, generation after generation after generation. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you're keeping up with the current Star Wars and are enjoying Disney Plus. We talk about it every week on here. The new
Yeah.
season of Mando. We were all into Andor.
So good.
We saw in Obi-Wan, the fifth brother came back in live action, so that was cool. We immediately talked about you. We were like,
Yeah.
Phil did it first. We love our live action fifth brother as well, but we love the animated version.
We're always here for the voice actors.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the other thing. I get.
You guys
I get
originated
asked
the roles.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that. I mean, but I'm also not like these, I'm not going to be like bitter or jaded and stuff like that to find out that they had hired an actor to do the on-screen version. It's like, I've had people ask me that. It's like, why didn't they ask you to do it? I'm like, you got to ask them.
Yeah. It's rare that it's the same person. It's only been Katie Sackhoff so far who's done both. Every other character that's been in animation and in live action, it's been someone different.
Yeah.
And usually, because like these characters end up being sort of stunt acters in a lot of cases.
Look at The Last of Us.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And that was 10 years later too. Like the girl Bella Ramsey was the woman who played that character. Ellie played her mom because that much time had passed. So it's like she could have played Ellie.
Wow. And that's insane. That's insane to me. But that's the nature of the beast. It's been going on since the beginning. Like, they used to do that with like back in the early days of cinema when movie musicals were so prevalent based on like Broadway shows. So basically like from the 30s, 40s on all the way through the 60s, maybe even parts of the 70s, if there was like a successful musical play version, or even just a play, like a regular play on Broadway or whatever, that was famous, that was award winning, and then they made the transition into cinema, 9 times out of 10, they were hiring different actors from the movie version.
Mm-hmm.
They were hiring different versions, different actors for the movie versions of like In the Heights, which was a huge hit that just came out a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happening with Wicked. In
right.
fact, I remember when Madonna got the role in Evita, people were like, "What about Patti LuPone?" And it's like, yeah, and look, believe me, I'm a New Yorker. I'm gay. I know who Patti LuPone is, right? So it's the kind of thing where it's like, Madonna's super, super, super famous, and they were like box office number. So that was the only reason. I was like, Patti LuPone would crush that. And I love Madonna, but like Patti LuPone should probably play that role, right? We're in a very different territory here, but we're also coming up at the sort of end of our show, and so I wanted to ask you one closing question. Your favorite moment recording of the Fifth Brother. He's had so many iconic moments, and I want to hit a couple before we go, so everyone remembers the damage you did while you were there. Because, damn, you and Sarah Michelle Gellar as the seventh sister were savage and chased these rebels down in a way that was kind of horrifying. Like there were moments where I was like, these boys aren't making it out. Ezra and Sabine were kidnapped and tortured and were forced to give up information. You got into a big fight with Ahsoka. She actually sort of saved the day, and she did beat you guys in that fight, but that was temporary. And then invading the temple on Lothal, you guys destroyed the Jedi temple on Lothal, which was bonkers. Yeah. And then you went to Malachor and fought Darth Maul, which is where the story ends, unfortunately, for all the Inquisitors there. But damn, what a fight. And probably the best episode of all of Rebels. Would you agree, Ashley, that Twilight of the Apprentice is the pinnacle of Rebels?
It's an iconic episode. You have not only Vader coming back, but you have his Inquisitors doing some real damage. And it was shocking because it was like, they're gonna lose. Like, how are they gonna go against all these guys?
That's
all
a 7-way lightsaber fight.
Yeah. Crazy
Kanan,
good.
Ezra, Ahsoka, and Maul is what it took to fight 5, 7, and 8, like on the Inquisitor side. It was for sure crazy.
And that was our Star Wars Rebels. That was our version of like gunfight at the OK Corral. This was the final battle, and it was just like it's gonna be a melee. It's gonna be a Mexican standoff kind of thing, a melee, and for sure, again, it was just like seeing the finished product, because again, especially in that particular episode, Fifth Brother was a man of few words, but just stunts and stuff like that you have to do. You're already, as an actor, feeling what the final product is going to be like with regard to the and look at all that stuff, the things that you have to do, which might seem mundane to do like in a recording studio, but then when you see the final finished product with music and score, and then like the animation and the action sequences, it's like kaplooey. just amazing. I had such a blast doing that stuff, and like I said, Sarah and I were never in the room together. Never in the room together. So for them to be able to create that, us as actors, respectively, Sarah and I, and then for the editors and the animators and stuff like that, to make it seem like we've known each other for all this time, and to have like this rapport, this chemistry.
In my mind, you're best friends, and you go to lunch every Sunday.
Right.
Like, exactly. No joke. They're the dynamic duo on the villain side.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you meet Sam or Taylor or Vanessa or anyone from the cast, or was it mostly recording solo?
Everything was recorded solo. Every single session was recorded.
And you're so well integrated into it, though. It is magical.
That's the magic. That's the magic of animation. And again, guys, this is the standard for whether we're talking about Pixar movies or like Disney movies or like Bob's Burgers, anything. 9 times out of 10, you're in there by yourself. And then it's only after the fact that they, the genius of the producers and the directors and the animators all come together, and they make it seem like you're doing ensemble acting all together, or you're doing a sitcom, or you're doing like a 1-hour TV drama or something like that, all in the same place. Nope. Most of the time you're in there, you're alone, you're a lone gunman in the booth, and you do your thing, and let the other guys, worry about making it magical after the fact.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you, what are you working on now? I know you have some projects in the hopper.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of projects. Unfortunately, I can't say because I've signed NDAs. There's a couple of voiceover projects, but what I'll do is I'll try to chime in after the fact when we're allowed to
Yes,
start promoting those things. The one thing
I've signed
can
plenty of
tell you-
those. I get it.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And it's going to be really exciting to share them when I'm able to do so in the future. I will say that right now I'm going to be recurring on a few episodes towards the end of the season of season 1 of ABC's new hit drama, The Company You Keep, starring the wonderful Milo Ventimiglia from This Is Us fame, who's also an executive producer, and the incredibly talented and super sexy and wonderful Catherine Henna Kim.
Very nice. I know Milo from Heroes. That's my go-to for him.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I know that
Isn't it funny? And he's
Yeah.
so good in this too. It's like I can't wait for people to
I
watch.
just watched the
It's already
first
premiered.
episode and I watched it on Hulu and it's really awesome so far. That and Will Trent are like my must-watch shows on ABC this season. So
I'm gonna have to check it out.
As biased as it may sound, it's actually a really good show.
Yeah.
So
it's really cool.
But I'm going to be playing a new character that sort of comes in and either from depending on your perspective, either puts a wrench in the machinery of what's going on with regard to the characters and storyline, or is there to run a tight ship and make sure everything's going swimmingly well. But you'll have to tune in to watch. So I hope you'll take a look at me towards the end of season 1 of The Company You Keep on ABC. And yes, as Ashley mentioned, you can watch it on Hulu and other formats.
Yeah, I was gonna say everything.
And,
I have to do everything on streaming now.
If I may, oh my God, before I forget, if I may, because I'm going to do another little plug here, but hopefully I hope you guys can help me out with this. So if you can see right here, I've got, let me see, an original Hasbro 12-inch. It's kind of hard to see action figure of Fifth Brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and what I'm asking for is if your viewers or listeners or whatever, what have you, or fans chiming into the show, if you go on Instagram and follow me and like me, but follow me in particular, Phil Anthony Rod at Instagram, and follow me. And then what I'm asking fans to do for Fifth Brother and Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars in general is if you chime in, I'm gonna post something on my page probably within the next couple of days. But I'm going to introduce a sort of battle royale segment with Fifth Brother and it's yet to be unnamed other character. And then the person who I feel, I'm going to have other people chime in who's going to help me out. So we're going to have like a little judging panel. But whoever comes in with the best, reason for why Fifth Brother or the other character will win over the other with this battle royale sequence, I'm going to get their information on Instagram messaging, and they will get a autographed Fifth Brother action figure.
That's awesome.
Okay, so just be on the lookout for that.
That's amazing. Thank you,
That is
Phil.
so cool. Thanks, Phil.
It's kind of hard because I know we have the
reflections of the reflections. No, that's fantastic. Everyone, make sure you follow Phil on Instagram.
Phil Anthony at Phil Anthony Rod for Instagram.
Yeah, you can see it right down there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh my God, I can never point on these things.
I know, we'll
also plug this everywhere because Phil's been a great friend of the fandom for a long time. I know when we started doing autographs at Topps, when we reached out, you were like, yes, let's do it. And then you came to the booth, you signed for people at New York Comic-Con. We had you in a bunch of products. This is really nice of you. Thank you for doing a giveaway for the fans. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I love your character
Thank
too.
you.
And by the way, that Funko Pop is super cute. I'm glad you bring them to the shows because
it's my
Fifth
absolute
Brother Pop
favorite.
is awesome.
Oh yeah, whenever I do signings at autograph signings at either cons or just any other thing that's set up, it's the mighty trifecta. It's always like the Funko Pops are the most popular. Then I get the action figure. The real big one I sometimes get is like people who have the Fifth Brother Lego that come in with that. And I'm like, wow, they're bringing that in. And then of course, like Mark knows, it'll be like some autographed, just 8x10s of like, Fifth Brother and stuff like that I'll sign, or anything else people bring in.
So cool.
I have a
You should come to Rhode Island Comic-Con.
You should come to Rhode Island.
It is a huge Star Wars con.
Yeah.
Keone Young, who plays Commander Sato, he came last year, and Dante Bosco, he was on Rebels as well. He was there. So It would be
bunch of
awesome to
Mando
have you out
people.
here.
I would,
Yeah.
I would love to do it, and it'll give me a great excuse to, head back and in some way, shape, or form to some part of the East Coast.
Yeah.
It'd be really, really nice. So you and I will speak after the fact, and we'll
Oh, yeah.
figure out the deets with regard to that, and somehow make it. When does that happen, by the way? When does
It's in November, early
Yeah,
November.
usually in
also
November.
this fall? Well,
That's a
might be
really
great.
good one. I have a Rebels poster that's screaming for your name because we've obviously met in real life, and you signed an 8x10 for me before I had this poster going.
This
So I was
poster's
like, how is
epic.
Phil not on here? It doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, it's not my, because I'm trying to get like the whole cast, which is challenging, but I met a lot of people at Celebration in 2019 and wherever else. So it's actually moving along nicely. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I need to land the plane on this piece so I can frame it and
We
keep
shall
it safe.
have to remedy that,
Yeah.
Mark. That's unacceptable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right, Ashley, did you have any final questions for Phil before we let him go?
I just wanted to know, like, if you could voice any other character in Star Wars, or if you could be any other character, alien, droid, whatever, in Star Wars, who would you be?
In terms of like already known characters?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Well,
Or if you want to design your own,
Or if you can
go
design your
crazy.
own. Yeah, go
Yeah.
nuts.
oh my God.
Ahmed Best just
Well,
came back as some rando Jedi and like
Yeah.
saved the day and
Oh
saved
my gosh,
baby
I would-
Grogu.
I
That was
would-
amazing.
Well, I've
Yeah.
never, it's like if my dream has always been to be like some sort of a Jedi, like if I were to be in, the fantasy is to be like a Jedi.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where you can like really wield the lightsaber and stuff like that and do some
Right.
really cool like choreography battling like that. And we're talking strictly like either, on TV screen or like a movie. But then by the same token, it's just like, I mean, I've been always in the Han Solo corner too. Like I'm a huge Han Solo fan. Like a lot of times when I go to the cons, I wear my I wear my Han Solo t-shirt from Star Wars and stuff like that because
Yeah.
I gravitate towards him as well. So I don't know if we can find some sort of like a hybrid between like a Jedi who has like the personality of like a Han Solo and have it be an original character. I'd be on
Han
board for
Solo had a
that.
brother who was force sensitive, but was still
That's
like
it.
a
There
jerk
you
like
go.
him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I like
That's it. We have an idea.
And used his force powers for all the wrong things, like the
Yeah.
smuggling and shit. That would be amazing. Oh my God, what a and he has
Right.
to learn lessons every week and he just doesn't learn them. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see anything on smuggling.
No, exactly.
There's
Stole your shit.
nothing to be
Yeah.
seen on this particular Falcon.
It's a whole new level of danger. Like
Totally,
that man would
yeah.
get away with everything.
Yeah, that
He
would be
needs
like that would be a real badass Star Wars character, a hybrid
Yeah.
of force sensitive Han Solo.
And he needs like a girlfriend or wife or whoever who's like the moral compass who's like, stop doing that, and has to like
Right.
undo she also has force powers since they fight. Like I feel like that's the conflict right there. One is
That'd be
very like
so
North
hilarious.
Star good, and then the other one is like always breaking the rules. I think that'd be
Chaotic.
really fun.
Chaotic
We're gonna
good.
come up with this
Yeah.
guy. We're gonna get him a name for you and everything.
Okay.
So
We'll work
think
on
of
that.
something.
We'll have to
Yeah.
sit and have a powwow and have a brainstorming session on how to make this character work.
I love it.
and then make it happen.
There's room in the Mandoverse. It's a big time
Absolutely.
period right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
sure.
And they're pulling in stuff from Rebels, so you never
Ah.
know.
I know, it's just so crazy. And even with having done Fifth Brother, it's just like, hey, that's just my voice. It's like there's nothing holding me back from doing like an on-screen character. So
There you go.
Exactly.
I
you
will forever keep hope alive with the potential of that happening. So that's never going to stop.
Definitely.
Still real quickly, because I know you guys got to bail. But
Oh no, we have plenty of time for you. I
okay.
wanted to
Yeah.
make sure we don't keep you over.
no, I'm totally fine. I'm in for the rest of the night. I'm going to be chilling. I'm probably going to watch maybe some Star Wars later on, in some way, shape, or form. But there's a guy who historically, I wouldn't say historically, it's not like it's just like millennia going on or anything like that. But he has been my stunt double in easily about 5 or 6 on-screen projects that I've done. And he's amazing. And
Wow.
he is Tamura Morrison's body double in
Really?
Book of Boba Fett and stuff like that.
No way.
Oh yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that
That's
because
so
he's
crazy.
like me? He's he's got the shaved head just like me and all that stuff. He's American, but he's of Brazilian, half Brazilian, half Arab ancestry. So
Is that Ayad?
it's with this ethnically ambiguous face and his look, it's like you can't go wrong with him being, and we are such good buddies and stuff like that. He's been
Aw.
Oh my God, he's amazing. And then when I found out that he was going to be like Tamora Morrison stunt double, I was just like, dude, I'm so freaking happy for you. Of course, he's been the world over, like, shooting like all the episodes of Book of Boba Fett. He's
That's
worked
awesome.
on Mandalorian and other instances and stuff.
Wow.
He also he's a stunt actor. He'll put on like some alien prosthetic mask and do some stuff where he gets hit by a blaster and he gets like thrown back and all that stuff. Oh, look,
That's wild.
I almost made myself
There you go.
like
You did it.
disintegrate
Yeah.
right there.
No disintegrations.
No disintegrations. So I thought that was really, really fun. But the main reason why I brought that up is because he's always asked me, he's like, dude, why aren't you in this stuff? You should ask your agents to put you in. I was like, I wish it were that easy.
I'll just call my agent.
Just go up to my agent and
call
say,
Mr. Disney.
Right, I want to be in Boba Fett. Go work on that. Make it
Hey,
happen.
just so you know, we're pretty magical here. They tend to listen to us, so for like other things. So it's entirely possible. Yeah.
Good.
I will tell you, as a licensee, people ask me things, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, let me just call up Bob Iger and tell him my opinion on
exactly.
that."
Like we can wield that sort of power. Like, I have I have a red phone hotline directly to George Lucas. Now,
Exactly.
He's not on George, Lucasfilm anymore, but he can put in a good word. George,
He still picks up the phone because he's bored. Is your stunt double's name Iad or Iad?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
we had him on the virtual Cantina watch along, our Thursday night show with the other hosts of the channel. So Jeff, who you saw in the corner before the show started, he was on with Dave and Spencer several weeks ago talking about his time on Boba Fett.
Yeah.
It is one big connected universe. You can't escape it. We always joke about how Star Wars is so interconnected.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
Well, if you go on my page, when you go on my Instagram page, you will see like a bunch of posts where it's just, him and me like just posing like arm in arm in the same gear, like the same clothing and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So cool.
You'll get to see Iad there and stuff like that, and give him a follow too.
He was fantastic on the show.
I think his tag is like at Iad Stunts. That's EYADSTUNTS Stunts. But with a name so unique and rare like Iad, you'll find him right away if you do a search, and you could see some of the cool stuff he's done. And for real Star Wars and Star Wars Rebels fans, really try to follow this guy because he's got great stuff in there, like footage from like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff. So he deserves a good follow as well. He's a really good guy.
So what upcoming Star Wars project are you most excited to watch?
Oh boy, I gotta say Ahsoka. And I'm a real, I love how she was already, they introduced her real well in Mandalorian. So, and again, it's like you gotta be real good with this because you're talking about yet another very popular, very iconic Star Wars character in Ahsoka. They're gonna really pay attention to detail, make sure that they do it right. It's going to have I'm hopeful that it'll have that strong, even dark at times cinematic feel to it, just like they did with like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and Andor. We didn't really get a chance to talk about Andor very much, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Again, for those same reasons, this is like episode after episode of watching like a full-fledged Star Wars feature every night that it premiered. It just looks so good, like the production quality and the value and the storytelling. The actors were fantastic. So I'm really hoping that they're going to stay in that realm of like that real cinematic feel with the storyline, with the storytelling that, Mandalorian and Andor was so brilliant at. So I'm probably most excited about that.
Yay.
Yeah, we're
so
pumped
cool
about Ahsoka. And when Andor was on, this show's about Rebels, we would go on these tangents, and all of a sudden we're 45 minutes into Andor, and it's like we're supposed to talk about Rebels this week. Like, let's go.
It was hard. It was really good.
But Andor was so good.
So good.
It just no one could have prepared me for how good Andor was going to be, because I was like not super excited about it. I was like, oh, this will be fine, and then it ended up being really compelling, like super dark, adult, interesting.
And I was a real big fan of oh my God, I'm blanking on his name.
Diego Luna?
No, not Diego. I mean the other guy. He's the brilliant Stellan Skarsgård.
Stellan
Stellan
Skarsgård.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, how good was he?
Luthen. The character's Luthen. I know I'm terrible at names, so that'll happen
It's
to me
so
all the
bad.
time.
Normally,
so I
I'm
like
like,
the IMDb up.
I'm like on it, but how fantastic
Yeah.
was he?
Mhm.
I was a real big fan. I was watching the one episode again. Mark and I just attested to. Not real good with names, not real good, not super spot on with episode titles, but the one episode when he is, doing that montage of like putting on the wig and the makeup and transforming,
Yeah. It's
from
like his
this
drag. Like it's
badass
such a
rebel leader into like
Yeah.
this very almost like a feat,
yeah.
very sort of like, flamboyant, like,
Yeah,
Like a
it's
shop owner,
basically
yeah.
a drag character.
Yeah.
Like it is crazy with
And
the
I was
hair
like,
and the
yeah, I was like, you better go, Star Wars people. That was the coolest thing I'd ever. And then to have Stellan Skarsgård, who's such a fantastic actor, see him do that. I mean, the only thing that was missing was the soundtrack of Donna Summer singing "Looking for Some Hot Stuff," baby, to see,
Yeah.
or something like that. I thought it was
That would
just
have been
super
awesome.
cool.
he was tremendous in the
He
show.
was so
and
good.
Genevieve was such a good foil for him. The
Yeah.
espionage component. I really think that they know that the three of us, me, you, and Ashley, right? We're all in the relatively similar age range. This is the age range of Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is prime for adults. And I think even Rebels realized that even though it started off a little bit for like kids, it was like as soon as you talk to the adults will watch it with their kids, and the kids
Yeah.
will also appreciate like the colors and the lightsabers and the fun. But like what keeps you invested is the deeper stories,
Yeah.
and what it all means. Like Twilight of the Apprentice is considered across the board one of the best moments in all of Star Wars, as
Right.
it's like compared.
It's on
like, comparable
every
to the
Star Wars
movies.
fans
Yeah,
episode list.
And it's
so
everything.
It's
it's
so
one episode of a cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's incredibly like, equal parts humbling and just such an enormous sense of pride. I mean, it's just so cool, guys. I know it sounds like a broken record, but I can't say it enough when you look back. And yeah, again, when I reminisce about it, I get all choked up again because you're tapping at the heartstrings of a little boy who was sitting engrossed in a big old movie theater. And this was back before cinemaplexes. Like when I saw the original Star Wars, I was just a little baby boy kid, sitting in this, like, I don't know, like 500,000 seat auditorium in Brooklyn, New York. Like the movie houses back there were like the size of a barn, like just massive structures, and just sitting there watching the screen oogle-eyed. And of course, as is par for the course with a lot of Star Wars fans in general, but in particular, when that first movie came out, when, A New Hope, before it was called A New Hope, came out, I don't know, I saw it like 10, 15 times, like went right back every other day, like in that summer back in 1977, just went right back to the movie theater. I'm like, let's go see it again. And then, and that was, again, back in the day, growing up in Brooklyn, it's like sometimes depending on what day you went on, when the crowds started dwindling a little bit, you could just stay in the theater until the next showing happened. And we did that too. Like the movie would finish, the credits would end, the people would come in to clean the movie theater, and like you go to the bathroom, do your thing, just kind of meander back into the lobby, go back into the theater when it was just completely empty, and then watch the movie again.
The days before assigned seatings.
Exactly.
And
I just
Fandango. Yeah,
right.
I would do a lot of double features as like a tween. That in the arcade, from the arcade to the movie theater.
I just went to a screening. It was like a special screening. It was really nice that I got invited, because even though the movie premiered on Friday, John Wick 4, and I'm a real big fan of that franchise as well.
Me too. Yes.
Isn't it great?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Did you see it? Did you see John Wick 4? Yeah.
Loved it.
Probably like I as much as I love the friend, I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't my favorite. Like I've had other favorites within the franchise that I like, but I still think they just knocked it out of the park. It's just like they always up the ante with regard to the fight choreography and the types of fights that they do. And let's face it, it's 2.5 hours of just full on killing.
Yeah, I sat there a lot of times going,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, I
And
can't believe they pulled that off. Like,
sometimes I find myself just like giggling. It's just like they just like yeah, I just envision like the writers and directors and Keanu like sitting in a room. And it's like, all right, guys, we gotta be out of here. How are we gonna do this? Like we did stuff with like knives and knife fight. What are we gonna do now? So the solution is, and I don't want to, I'm not, no spoilers here, but just like do something that involves like cars. And I'm not talking about a car chase. And they did it. They did it. I'm like, holy shit. But
Yeah. that
but the
whole
point
movie was just straight holy
it was
shit.
insane. Yeah, it was insane. But the original point I was going to make, Mark, was the fact that it was a real fun screening. It was actually nice because it was an invited screening that I got to after being at WonderCon and stuff. And I'm like, hell yeah, I would love to be a part of this. And I got the invite and I got to see the movie with this like mini screening and stuff. And we saw it in this like gigantic AMC auditorium. And, it was like one of the ones that was, like the bigger houses and stuff like that with the reclining seats. And, I'm just sitting back in a comfy chair and watching it. So, yeah, it was sheer bliss, being a big, gigantic cinema, house like that again.
I have a few movies that are on my list now because I haven't seen Shazam yet. And then I got to see John Wick. I love Scream 6. Yeah, Fury of the Gods. Got to see that. Yeah, and the original, I really like the original, so I'm ready to go see the sequel.
I love the original.
Yeah.
I think
cool.
The original like doesn't get enough of attention. It was like, I think the great thing about the original Shazam was it was sort of like DC's answer to kind of like the fun originality and quirkiness of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Or
and a little bit Guardians.
Or even like the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, where they really sort of bring in that boyhood, idea of fantasy and stuff like that. But just really, really smart stuff. And then of course, what's his name? Levy, the guy who plays
Zachary Levi. Yeah.
Zachary Levi, just brilliant. I mean, the guy was again, it's like, oh, he's playing Shazam. And it's like, yeah, because it has to have some degree of like, comedy and stuff like that. Brilliant. And the chemistry between him and Dylan, whatever his name, who plays like his brother,
Dylan Grazer. Yeah.
Dylan Grazer was just like perfect chemistry. Perfect chemistry.
Good.
And it would make
it's
me laugh.
Family movies. Yeah.
It's a family movie. It wasn't like crazy. The second one was, like it was good. I mean, I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun and it held my attention. I had a really good time. But the first one, I think, is really, really underrated in terms of like how fun it was and just that idea of like family and what that's all about and protecting the people you love. And then like, a lot of people don't really delve that deeply into it like they should and they could, because it's more than just like a superhero movie with like a funny, quirky moments. I think there was really like a lot of deep, profound, storytelling in there with regard to like the things I just said, family and what that means.
It's got a lot of heart.
A lot of heart to it, So I got it. I got that. And that's, that's again, it's one of those movies that if it comes on and I'm not doing anything else and I'm in, I'll watch it. I'll watch it again, on TV or whatever when they replay it.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I don't know about you, Ashley, but like if something's on and like if there's a superhero movie on in the background, all of a sudden it's then just on. It's not even in the background.
What's the one?
No matter what you're doing. Yeah.
I had this conversation with like somebody, and somehow we got into a conversation about like it was either about action movies and or Schwarzenegger. And for me, it's like I tell them this all the time. I tell people this all the time, but it's like if Predators are on, like the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, I will drop everything and watch that movie. I don't care how many times I've seen it. I watch it probably as much as I do like Star Wars movies whenever they're on, whenever I need my fix. And I love it so much that that's one of those movies that I can literally quote verbatim, like every single character's, line, whether it's Carl Weathers or Bill Duke or Schwarzenegger or even I'm blanking on her name, but the woman who plays Anna, the one female thing who plays like the rebel chick who like ends up helping them out. Even her lines in Spanish I can quote.
Oh wow.
there's one line that is like, I tell my Spanish speaking friends, but even if you don't speak Spanish, you can appreciate it. It's like there's this one line in Predator where Chavez is one of like the the guys on Schwarzenegger's team. He goes, "Mujer, dime lo que vio." And he says, "What did you see? What was it that you saw in the jungle that attacked us in the thing?" And Anna, the girl goes, "Te dije lo que sé. Fue la selva que se lo llevó." ¿Qué más quiere que te diga? Which translates like, I'll tell you the same thing I said before. It was the jungle that came alive. And then Chavez goes, she's saying the same thing she said before. She said she's talking about the jungle that came to life and took him. So that's how stupid I am with the whole freaking thing. Like, I can quote the Spanish speaking woman's line from the movie.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Crazy.
This is a symptom of being a fan of sci-fi and genre films. Like, I'm the same way. Like, you put an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in front of me, and like that I can remember. Like every stupid line. I can't remember the main actor who I've seen a million times over in something. Yeah. And then Buffy will come on and it's like something in my brain just switches on. And I think that's the kind of thing where like genre films can get into your brain in a way that I think a lot of other things can't. And I think it's why Star Wars has such lasting power. It's why we're all going to Celebration in a couple of weeks and we're talking about movies that are over 40 years old. We're talking about more that are coming, movies that we're going to be talking about 40 years from now. Like it just finds a way in, which is what a blessing, right? That
absolutely,
and we're all going to be at WonderCon or San Diego or the next con circuit, signing Funko Pops till the end of time.
Yeah,
it's bonkers. I'm buying them. The collection here, you can't see it because my background's off, but like it is between us on this network, the amount of stuff we collect and everything, it's kind of wild.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I mean, I'm kind of sad because I was gonna bring my lightsaber with me, just to sort of laugh at it. And I don't have like a dual.
I was gonna say, do you have a life size like?
Oh, I do.
Inquisitor?
I've got two of them, but they're Jedi sabers. One is like a green Luke Skywalker saber, and then your standard light bluish one. I wish I had a fifth brother. Like
someone needs to make you one because that would be epic. I know Hasbro was like this close to making one for Reva, but come on, like the fifth brother.
I can get one now if I want. It's just like I haven't taken the time to spend like $700-800.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
You can get the Halloween costume kids version for like $30 or something. If you needed like a prop for your table at the booth, like that would be, but like then it's gonna look small though on like a grown ass man. It's just not gonna work. Like we really need like a good prop version.
I know. I will. I'll get when it's time. I mean, it's just for whatever reason, it's just been like delayed. Why I haven't actually gotten my own fifth brother, like double-edged, red.
Yeah.
That
Disney
rotates.
Should really send you one. We're gonna start a petition.
Yeah.
Let's be the next thing. We have a lot to do.
That. Yeah, and
we got to get you in a Star Wars live action. We got to get you a lightsaber.
Got to get you to Rhode Island.
You got to send us a list of demands. We're gonna make it happen over here. So yeah,
sweet. Yeah, but I mean, I know they have, and of course, just now in this past WonderCon, you go to like the merchandise floor. It's just like there's so many booths now that sell like lightsabers. Take your pick of one of those you want. And then while I was there, somebody showed me a video of one guy that I forget. He has to wear like a backpack with it, but it's sort of like this. It's this real, like legit plasma lightsaber where you press the button and it comes out, and there's like I got to come in closer to the screen so I'm not distorted here. But it just comes out through the hilt and the light, it just lights up, and I'm like, I've seen everything. And
this man's gonna explode.
We're like probably
they let
like
him into the con with that. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, no. It was just a video that he was showing me, and it's like,
I was gonna say,
this guy made this thing, and it's like I forget what it was. It's some sort of like, some gas, not neon, but something like that. That like it's stimulated and like comes up, and it like literally comes up like a regular lightsaber, like with the. And
it's amazing. Well,
that's what I was saying. I'm like, how much is that?
I would be very nervous.
About $10,000 to spare.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So it's going to be insanely expensive and probably a little bit dangerous. And I'm clumsy. I'll fall over and explode. That's
Yeah.
like that. So that's par for the course. But
Yeah, that's a
Lucasfilm
no
has
from
the.
me.
It's made out of
You
a
saw it,
volatile,
Ashley.
material. It's like it's hydrogen based, so really, you can't make any sparks or anything like that because
Yeah.
you probably like take out a whole city block.
I can't
Yeah.
even walk without tripping over my own feet. They would never be sane giving me
Yeah.
that. Ever.
Right. Yeah.
We're probably going to see this at Celebration, but there's a new lightsaber that's sort of the light up version that they showed at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And that seemed like some type of real lightsaber. I'm curious to see. Maybe at Celebration they'll show it to us, because if they do, if they're able to do that,
If they're doing the parks
yeah,
panel, they might show us.
yeah, because
But
it's really
I'm
just the
scared to know
hills.
how much that's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kid you not. I mean, we're probably like from maybe next 5 years from somebody being able to develop like the technology, because it's already kind of exists, to do like a hologram version of it, where it's like you may have a bigger handle and hilt or something like that, to make it work. But like it projects like a holographic image saber. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in our immediate future.
That'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we're going to
You
do
can't
our
make a
best to get you a Fifth Brother version. And certainly if there's another poll coming up for Galaxy's Edge, we've got to get more Inquisitor sabers.
All right, Mark, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
It's here for posterity. I'm going to hold you to that.
Well, I want to call up Iger. Well, I guess Chapek's gone, but now that Iger's back, I'll get
Iger's
him
back.
back on the
Iger
phone.
hotline.
Yeah. All right. I know that we've kept you way over time. Thank you for being so generous with us, for spending time with us tonight. This has been really fun. The comments are blowing up on YouTube.
Yeah.
The Facebook stream was a little wonky, but I think more people were on YouTube tonight. Tell everyone where they can follow you. I think you've said it already on Instagram and Twitter, and you've got a little contest running.
That's right. So again, on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Phil. That's PHIL Anthony, which is my middle name, and Rod, ROD. So first I'll tell you about the sort of little like contest thing that I'm doing. I'm going to devise. I want to keep it sort of a secret, but what I will say is that it's a battle royale type of thing that involves Fifth Brother. I'll be making some announcements probably over the next couple of days about it. And what we'll do is if you go on Instagram, if you go on Instagram and Twitter, if you give me a like and a follow and chime in with who you think will win in a battle royale with Fifth Brother versus ? The top 3 best answers. Again, I'm going to be devising a panel where it's not just going to be me. I'm going to chime in with some advice from people that I trust, whose opinions I trust, with a clever response on who you think would win it and why. That winner will get an autograph. Let me see if I can get it in here. It's kind of hard with the background. Let me see. An autograph. I can't do it. It's so weird. I'm getting the
in front of your chest.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. An autographed Fifth Brother 12-inch action figure, autographed by yours truly, 12-incher. And we'll figure out when we get the winner is. I'll get everybody's mailing information, and they will get sent an autographed action figure. Authentic Star Wars Hasbro action figure for me.
That's
and
awesome.
then the other thing that I was going to say, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, the one main big project, some other stuff I can't mention because they're NDA kind of stuff involving some animated or video game projects that I'm involved with. But if you follow me, you'll see follow-ups with regard to that. I'll make some announcements. What I can say is that we're in season 1 of ABC's hit show, The Company You Keep, where I will be premiering towards the end of season 1 in a very, very pivotal sort of storyline character that's being introduced at the end of season 1. That's The Company You Keep, starring Milo Ventimiglia and Catherine Hannah Kim on ABC. You can catch it on Hulu, and you can also see it on ABC streaming.
Awesome.
Fantastic. We'll have to check you out.
Yeah, definitely watch that show. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Awesome.
It's really good. As biased as it sounds, it's really like very fun. It's got great acting, great actors, lots of good storytelling, good storylines, lots of actions, very sexy. So if you're into like really sexy stuff with action, watch this show.
Excellent. I know I'm going to be tuning in, especially because I love Milo. So that'll be cool to check out.
And he's also one of the
excited to see
executive
you.
producers on the show. He's also one of the executive producers on the show. He's doing a brilliant job. So we're we're really happy for him too. He's, we all know what he did in Heroes as well as in This Is Us. He's just as brilliant and just as engaging with the company you keep.
Awesome. Yay.
All right. Very quickly before we go, everyone tune in to the VCN this week. We've got Tuesday happy hour. We've got Thursday watch along for the latest episode of The Mandalorian. And then the Intergalactic News Desk is back on Saturday with our final episode before Star Wars Celebration. And then Ashley and Dave and Jeff and I will be keeping all of you guys informed of what's going on at Celebration during the show. More to come on that in this upcoming week. But once again, thank you, Philip, for visiting with us tonight. We appreciate all this time that you spent with us. We got so many great stories, Star Wars,
fun.
video games, live action. You do it all. Thank you again. And
my pleasure, guys.
We always sign off with "May the Force be with you." I hope that's not too cheesy, but to you and Carolyn and everyone else behind the scenes, and to everyone else in the fandom out there, everyone who joined us tonight, thanks for joining us, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you too. It's been an absolute pleasure. You guys have been absolutely spectacular. Always love chiming in and chatting with my friends, Star Wars friends and fans. So all the best to you guys. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Good night. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.